So continuing going over the risk and return, I wanted to go over, I posted this file, and I wanted you to go over this and practice in Excel, and we're going to practice this together. So this file shows, this is from NYU, showing that for the S&P 500, the returns year by year, right, and from 1928 all the way down to 2017, right? So what we're looking to do is get an understanding of what is standard deviation. So what I want you to do is go to the second tab, and it's called Standard Dev, and what we're doing here is we're basically just pulling the return from here, from column B, and we have the return, just drag it down, right? So you can just go equals to kind of reperform this. So we have this ourselves, right? Just drag it down, and we have all the returns by year. And then what we're looking to do is just the average of the entire set, right? So what we're looking to do with average, you can just do average, and then select, and you can do Control-Shift down here. Okay, and this is essentially the average, and in order to drag it, I would put $ signs around the B5 left hand side and right hand side. Okay, and then you could also drag this down. Okay, so the average for how many years is it? 1928 to 2017 is 90 years. So for the last 90 years, the average return of the S&P 500 was 11.53. Keep in mind this is gross, right? So we'd have to subtract the treasury rate to get the market risk premium, and I think they show that here as well. So we can subtract this year by year, but we're not doing that right now. What we're doing is just straight standard deviation, right? So we have the average. Now, what is the deviation from the mean? That is basically all that is saying in simple terms. We're saying that in 1928 there was a return of 43.8%. So that actually was 32% above average. And then year by year, you could see 1929 it was actually 19% below average. And let's see, more recently, 2017 it was 10% above average. 2016 was right on, and then 2015 was minus 10-15, and you could see generally big volatility is basically showing you how far. 2008 minus 36, so that's 48% away from the average. So it's showing you what I'm looking to see. How much does it? So the average is good. Okay, I have an average. Or maybe I'm going to get 11% if I invest in the market next year. But then this is a measure of says, well, actually it varies from the market quite a bit. Sometimes 32%, sometimes 19%. So to get a sense of the whole distribution of how much this varies, what we do is we're just trying to get an average of the deviation. Okay, now because if we just average these numbers, because it's positive and negative, it kind of throws us off a little bit. So what we do is we square these to basically account for removing the negative effect of the numbers. And then we basically sum all of the squares, right? And then we divide it by the number of years, which is 90. And then we take the square root of that, and then 19.5. So basically what we're getting here is on average, the return varies from 11.53 by 19.5%. And this basically means that yes, if I invest in the market, on average I'll get 11% return, but it will deviate from that by about 19.5%. And that is, keep in mind, that's just for the last 90 years exact. So what does that tell you? It tells you that, yes, if you invest, for example, 10,000 in the market for like 70 years, you're going to get an average 11%. But if you plan to invest on the market for example, only 5 years, be careful, because if at the end of your 5 years you end up having negative 48%, you're certainly not going to end up having a very smooth upward moving geometric return of 11%. So that is just something that we're getting a feel for how risky the market is, essentially. And we're going to look at some of the examples of this as well.